The young core of the Denver Nuggets are currently battling it out with the veteran Los Angeles Lakers team in the Western Conference Finals, and team stars Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray have suddenly become on-court sensations after heart-stopping clutch performances throughout this whole 2020 playoffs. And finally, after a very long time, the Nuggets franchise have seemingly detached itself from the shadow of the Carmelo Anthony era in the Mile High City. But of course, the team's championship aspirations in this modern era in the NBA still remain afloat. For real though, not a lot of fans saw this coming, as the Clippers-Lakers West Showdown was anticipated by many, at least for this season. But Mike Malone's hard-nosed team just didn't give up after being down 3-1 against both the Jazz and the Clippers. But in an era where teams seemingly rely too much on big-name free agency signings and high-profile trades, the Nuggets seemingly didn't have to commit on those things too much. A general manager, Tim Connolly, managed to assemble a team mostly built through the draft. But you gotta wonder, if the Nuggets stack this current roster through the draft, how did they become this good to reach the conference finals after having just 3 lottery selections since they picked Melo 3rd overall back in 2003? Have the Denver Nuggets showed the NBA that tanking for super high draft picks isn't necessarily needed in order to create a championship caliber roster? And with Jokic and Murray locked into their contracts for the foreseeable future, what's actually the ceiling for this young Nuggets team, and do they even have what it takes to own the whole West in the long run? What's good guys, my name is Riro Balls, and in today's video, let's take a quick look and see how the Denver Nuggets have schooled the entire NBA through the draft. Despite a superb yet unexpected 2012 to 2013 season which featured the team leading the league in offense, the Nuggets saw themselves lose to the upcoming Golden State Warriors in the second round of the playoffs, and shortly after, newly awarded Coach of the Year George Karl was fired. Also, Executive of the Year Masai Ujiri left the Nuggets organization for the Toronto Raptors. This left Denver with a gaping hole within the team's organizational structure, which raised tons of questions about the Nuggets' future. But just a few weeks later, Pelicans assistant general manager Tim Connolly was hired to be the new man in charge to take the organization to greater heights moving forward. And within his first few seasons as general manager, the Nuggets obviously plummeted in the standings as their win total plunged to 36 during the 13-14 season and further down to 30 during the 14-15 season. And yeah, during the first few seasons of the post-George Karl era, the team still had solid guys like Ty Lawson, Kenneth Faried, Wilson Chandler, Nate Robinson, and JJ Hickson, but obviously, the roster didn't have enough firepower to move the needle and propel the team back to at least where they were during the 2012 to 2013 season when Andre Iguodala was still around. And also, the Nuggets ownership didn't seem to want to blow the team up completely and start a total rebuild, even if it was obvious that they didn't have what it takes to straight up compete with top-tier West teams like the Spurs, Thunder, and Clippers. At the end of the day, General Manager Tim Connolly was somehow compelled to sign guys like Nate Robinson and JJ Hickson to long-term deals, when in fact, the team already had guys like Ty Lawson, Gallinari, and JaVale McGee who were all making more than $10 million annually at that time. And just like that, the team's new management looked like a big mess right by the get-go. But right after enduring a losing season in 2013 to 2014, the Nuggets ownership and Connolly seemingly met eye to eye as they finally decided to approach things differently. To put it simply, the Nuggets realized that paying some good yet mediocre guys isn't going to make them better in the long run. In short, the team moved to a different direction as finally, management decided to start from scratch, be more patient, and rebuild this team through the draft. And this all began during the summer of 2014 as in the NBA draft, they decided to trade down, giving up their number 11 overall selection to Chicago in exchange for the 16th and 19th picks, which they used to select Yusuf Nurkic and Gary Harris respectively. But Connolly's drafting genius didn't end there, as in that same draft, the team hit it big in the second round, as with the 41st pick, the Nuggets selected an unassuming, awkward young center from Serbia named Nikola Jokic, who we now know as the Joker, the guy who would become the face of the Nuggets franchise. After that one good draft, Denver seemed all bought in with the idea of rebuilding the roster from scratch, but just as any team with a great GM, they also had a few misses, as with the 7th overall pick in the 2015 NBA draft, they decided to select Emmanuel Mudiay, who we all know didn't turn out to be the star they wanted him to be, as he was traded to the Knicks after 3 seasons with the team. But in the following draft in 2016, Denver once again had the 7th pick, and this time, they drafted the Kentucky standout guard named Jamal Murray, who is now one half of the young star tandem that the Nuggets have. Also in that same draft, They secured the 15th overall pick which they acquired by trading Ty Lawson, plus they also acquired the 19th pick which they got via the Aaron Aflalo trade that they subsequently made. And with those picks, they selected Juancho Hernan Gomez and Malik Beasley, which guys would become huge pieces during the initial phase of the Denver Nuggets youth movement. And of course, fast forward to 2018, they got the steal of the draft, Michael Porter Jr., who they took 14th overall, and eventually, Porter would turn out to become the Nuggets' third best player, at least during the 2020 playoffs. And well, right after those first few drafts under the helm of a new general manager, it was pretty obvious that Denver had a clear strategy right in their heads. And right now, looking at how these selections impacted this team roster-wise is quite amazing. And as a fan, I find it genuinely mind-blowing how the Nuggets were able to create a solid young core while not really having tons of lottery picks where you'd expect to find most superstar-level talents during the draft. And well, as a fan, you've just gotta wonder, how did the Nuggets actually get to assemble a top 3 team in the West considering that Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. were the only lottery picks who they actually got to retain in their roster during this whole quote-unquote rebuilding period? Well, I guess the answer is quite simple, and that is, the Nuggets relied on the economics of the draft, and they did all this by buying into the idea that looking at multiple guys in the mid to late first round is more valuable than just focusing on one projected lottery guy. And well, that obviously worked for them as they made those really solid trades involving older players in order to secure more mid-first round picks. And what's even more amazing is that they found Nikola Jokic, their franchise's cornerstone, during the mid-second round of the draft. And whether it's because of luck or simply due to a great cohesive system built by coach Mike Malone, it seems like it was Denver who had the right formula to jumpstart a quote-unquote process. And to put this in perspective, what GM Tim Connolly did is contrary to what former Philadelphia executive Sammy Hinkie formulated with his iconic tank job to draft stars Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. If anything, Denver taught the whole NBA that creating an overly systematic losing scheme or tanking isn't the only way to build a successful young team, and sometimes it only takes some good scouting and a established winning culture to bring a young team to the conference finals eventually. After barely missing the playoffs during the 2017 to 2018 season, the Nuggets now have been staples of the Western Conference's elite tier of teams for 2 straight seasons. This is all thanks to one of the best roster rebuilding jobs around the league in recent memory. And whether or not they get to beat the Lakers in the conference finals, the writing on the wall already seems to be pretty clear. And that is, this Jokic and Murray-led Nuggets squad is going to be one of the most dominant teams for the next few seasons to come. And considering that those two are just 25 and 23 years old respectively, while both being locked up on long-term deals for at least the next 4 years, it's just a great time right now to be a Nuggets fan, just by looking at all the great things that could happen with this young group. And while in my opinion, there's not a lot of tweaking needed with this current Nuggets roster, however the season may end for them, as they already have shown great team chemistry while thriving in a non-selfish type of offense. And it also seems like their 2 young stars have no issues leading this team in the long run. Jokic is already a 2-time All-Star who just finished the season with 19.9 points, 9.7 rebounds, and 7 assists per game averages while being one of the best passing big men in the league. Jamal Murray, on the other hand, has developed into a full-blown killer on the court as he finished the season averaging 18.5 points, 4 rebounds, and 4.8 assists, all while shooting 35% from deep. And if you look at the rest of the roster, there are also a lot of things to get excited about, including Michael Porter Jr., who looks just as promising as can be for a young player. Then of course there's Jeremy Grant, who you wish would resign with the team for less next season because honestly, I think they'll be good with him at the 4 in the long run, and that is even if they let Millsap walk this offseason. And though Gary Harris has had his share of offensive struggles this season, he still has proved to be a solid defensive piece throughout the year. And of course, there's guys like Monte Morris and Torrey Craig who are also solid pieces who are always ready to contribute off the bench for Mike Malone. To put it simply, Denver's roster just looks set to compete for at least the next 5 years without a lot of tweaks needed. But of course, we never really know what GM Tim Connolly could be planning for this summer. But if there is such a plan, I wouldn't be surprised to see them trading for a 3rd star to play alongside their already solid young core. And I guess we'll just have to wait and see how this team could even get better in the future. Let me know. Again, this is Riro Balls and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.